Hey, monsters! We're so glad you could join us today, as we like to think that each episode of the MMN podcast serves as a weekly meeting for our very own true crime cult.
But not to worry, you've landed in the cult with all of the sing-alongs and none of the sarin gas. Grab a flower crown, cuddle up to a baby goat, and take a seat around the fire as we dig into another true crime tale.
In case you're just finding us for the first time today, allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm Aurora, and I'm here with my favorite true crime fighting pixie, Angelina.
And we have a special guest today, Fidencio Minjares, who has been fighting to find daughter Veronica Reyes Diaz, who has been missing from Dover, Florida since January of 2020. Welcome, Fidencio.
Thank you.
Well, we are so glad to have you here. And just to give a little bit of background about Veronica, we want to start by talking about her case. Veronica is a loving mother of three who has been missing since January 18th, 2020. On the evening of January 17th, Veronica went out to dinner with friends in Dover. She dropped her two oldest boys, ages 4 and 5, with her sister-in-law, while her youngest son stayed home with her husband. Her friend dropped her off at home just after 1 a.m. Veronica drove about 15 minutes to Plant City to pick up her kids, come home, and then tuck them into bed. Her son heard her step outside just after tucking him into bed.
Around 6 a.m., her husband woke up to find Veronica's maroon Chevy Yukon in the driveway with her keys, purse, wallet, and cash inside. Their kids were all home safe and sound. When he first realized Veronica wasn't at home, he thought maybe she'd stayed at a friend's house, but it was soon clear that no one had seen or heard from Veronica since tucking her boys into bed.
Fidencio, can you tell us a little bit more about Veronica, what she's like, what are her hobbies and interests?
Actually, I want to correct something. She actually dropped her kids off at her sister's. It was her younger sister's house.
Oh, apologies. Thanks for that correction.
Fine. Veronica is a person, me and her mother, we split up when she was young. And so she kind of struggled with that. It was kind of hard for her. I've always seen her as being a daddy's girl. There was nothing that she wouldn't tell me, or she was kind of happy, and at the same time she was kind of rough. If you get what I'm trying to say, but she had no problem speaking her mind as she grew. And I believe she kind of looked for that father figure, and her boyfriends and stuff like that. Especially knowing that I wasn't really. I mean, I was involved. I would get them every weekend. I would pick them up on Friday, and I would drop them off, or her mother would pick them up on the Sunday evening. So I mean, there's something I really never took away from my kids was my time with them. And I mean, Veronica, she became a mother at a young age. Because she was 23 when she come up missing, and her oldest, was 5. Mm-hmm. So she was a young age when she got pregnant with the first one. But other than that, like I said, Veronica, she was very happy. She was a good mom, happy mom. She was well involved with her kids. She was every time there was something happened at school, what she was proud of, I would receive a text message, a picture of his progress, her kids' progress. And she was very involved with him in school. Like I said, I mean, she was very annoying, loud, obnoxious, but in a good way, in a good way. And
it's her sense of humor, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, she would tell you exactly what she thought. So, I mean, she was a good mom, good daughter. I mean, she didn't drink, she didn't do drugs. Despite what happened in her younger life, me and her mom splitting up. So I've always gave her props for that. I remember on her the day before her wedding, bachelorette party or whatever, My wife threw her one here at home, and my wife made her a drink, and she really didn't even drink it. Because she don't, like I said, she don't drink alcohol very much.
You have been such an amazing advocate for Veronica. Were the two of you still close with Veronica being an adult? Did you see quite a bit of each other?
Myself, yeah, like I said, I mean, any problem she had, she was always breaking her phone, and I'm very techy with repairing phones, computers, and etc. And I would be the first one she would call, hey, daddy, this, that, and that, can you fix it? And like I said, I mean, I have messages upon messages on Facebook Messenger where we would just had just weird conversations, just funny, loony conversations. Like I said, the last conversation I had with her, because she was a big, what's that vampire movie? Edward.
Oh, Twilight?
Yeah, Twilight. She was a big fan of that. And to me, vampires don't bedazzle. That
Right.
Even sparkly vampires?
Sparkly vampires. And I had sent her a meme of Count Dracula from Sesame Street slapping Edward.
Oh, yes.
Slapping Edward, telling him to go, vampires don't sprinkle. and he just, like I said, that was our last conversation on Messenger that we had. And
oh, that's cute.
Dad, really?
That's cute.
That's fun.
We had a good relationship with one another,
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And so you touched on this a bit, and looking at Veronica's social media, you can tell that she's just a loving, involved mom. All of her photos are of her taking her boys to meet Santa, or the family's coordinating Halloween costumes. Can you tell us a little bit more about what she was like as a mom? Like, if you have any specific memories of like Veronica with her boys and how she was as a mom to them.
Well, like I said, I mean, she was strict, stern with the boys. But she was very loving with them. I mean, there was nothing that she wouldn't do for them. Birthday party, she would go out of her way to throw them a party. Like I said, she struggled a lot as a single mom. It's the two oldest boys. She was a single mom with them, and she struggled, bad with them. And for a while there, she moved in with me, and I watched the boys grow up, and she's, like I said, she's a good mom with them. There was nothing she wouldn't do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit more about what Veronica's life was leading up to her disappearance? Was she working, that sort of thing?
Well, Veronica, she was a housewife, mom at home all the time. And there was times where she wanted to better herself. Not for herself, but for her boys. She dropped out of school at, I think she was in ninth or 10th grade. She dropped out, and after she had the second boy, she got involved into going back to school, getting her GED, and tried, to better herself for her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, she met Francisco, and he didn't want that. He wanted a housewife. As much as she would urge, she wanted to work, she wanted to move forward, she wanted to do something with her life. He would always, put a stop to it.
Mm.
I mean, and I think he was just over controlling with Veronica, trying to pretty much have a maid a home,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, a lot of this I didn't figure out till after she disappeared. And, I did my own digging, investigation, and I had a whole bunch of her friends contact me and to send me messages, forward messages between her and Veronica, which, I wasn't very impressed by, because, I mean, according to a couple of the messages, he would hit her sometimes here and there. and
Oh
there was a lot of
no.
infidelity. And it's just. But like you said, outside closed doors, you don't know the
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just as an aside here, did you know him well? Like, did you all hang out together often or anything like that? Did you have much of a relationship with him prior to her disappearance?
Uh, I mean, not a commodity relationship. Like hey, this is my son-in-law, and
Yeah.
I would show some kind of interest for my daughter. Keep things keep
Yeah.
keep things going. But to say he's somebody I would go hang out with, no. He's very sketchy, very quiet. He don't speak very much, and his facial expressions is not. They're not there.
Okay.
Rather,
So something off about the vibe you
yeah.
feel. Okay. And can you tell us a bit more about the timeline of the night that Veronica went missing?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what I know. I mean, what we
Mm-hmm.
discovered after she came out missing. Um, well, I know she went out, which seemed kind of weird with me. She went out that night. Um, they have three boys. One,
Mm-hmm.
the youngest one's his and hers. Their child, and the two oldest ones are from previous relationship. And for some reason, he stayed with the baby, and she took the other oldest ones to her sisters. And like I said, I know they went out with two of her friends. Uh, just saying, like I said, she never went out. He would always control her. She can't go out, etc., etc. And I guess after an incident that happened in December the year prior, um, he told her that he was going to allow her to go out and do stuff.
Hmm.
So she went out, which he wasn't very happy about, from my understanding. He was kind of, upset over it. Because at first he wasn't going to let her go. Then towards the end he allowed it. That's
Okay.
like her dad or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they went out. They went out to Chili's in Tampa. Uh, According to her friend, he kept calling her. He kept calling her, asking her where she was at, and from the tables, from one side of the table to the other side of the table where her friend was sitting, her friend told me he could hear Francisco yelling at her.
Hmm.
Uh, which she probably got upset and hung up on him. I'm not sure. And her friend dropped her off about, believe it was like 1:15 in the morning that night.
Okay.
And according to camera footage, we see her being dropped off, which within 5 minutes, you see her vehicle leaving, Veronica's vehicle leaving. And that's the time frame she
Okay.
went to go pick up her boys. On her way to
Hmm.
pick up her boys, she got pulled over for a taillight or headlight. I'm not sure exactly what it was. She got pulled over by that Penn City police officer, and I believe she got a warning. She got a warning. She picked up her boys after that and went straight home.
Okay.
It shows her vehicle pulling into. The camera shows her vehicle pulling into the house, and that's it. And that was about 1:45 in the morning.
Okay. And there was a camera.
And so the camera doesn't show her leaving the house
No,
or
no,
anything
ma'am.
again? It just
No, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't see the camera footage till almost a year. Within that year, towards the end of the year, when cops actually did their job.
Okay.
And it was 1:45 when she got home. Well, Francisco didn't contact me. We're talking about Saturday morning. 1:45 in the morning. Francisco didn't contact me until Sunday at 3:35 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Asking me if I knew where Veronica's whereabouts were at, where she was at. Which I replied, I'm like, what are you talking about? She's not home with you. And he's like, no, she never made it home from Friday. The boys are here, but she's not.
Right.
Yeah, that seems a long time to wait. Do you know whether he contacted, or did he say that he contacted anybody else prior to calling you? Or
No, he didn't say. He did not say. But according to him, the reason he didn't contact me until Saturday, because in December, this is what happened in December. I guess they got into a fight, argument, or whatever, and she took off. She took off, but she went to her aunt's house. She went to her aunt's house, and the reason I know this because when he contacted me, I texted her. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Are you all right? And when she replied, she gave me a big old paragraph. Veronica was very detailed with things. So she sent me a big paragraph, telling me he's just over controlling. She can't take it no more, and which I told her, I'm like, y'all can have to work things out. You talk to him. I'll talk to him if you want me to, and every year we have a Christmas get together as a family, which they showed up. They showed up to it, and everything seemed fine. And from my understanding, that's what he had told her. It's like, I'm going to allow you to start going out with friends, family, and do spend some time outside the house.
Fidencio, in a podcast that the Hillsborough police had put out about Veronica and her disappearance, they had said that it was normal for her to take off for a couple days of a time and just kind of be over things. Is that something you knew to be true about her, or something her husband might have said to the police?
That's something her husband said, because, like I said, that day, that December day, he contacted me the next day. The next morning is when he contacted me. He didn't wait 2 days or whatever. And like I said, as soon as I texted her, she replied ASAP. And that's the only time that I know that she's ever done that.
That's happened. Okay.
Yeah.
The day that he contacted you after her disappearance, after waiting until the Sunday to contact you, did he imply that perhaps they had some sort of an argument or fight, and then that would be maybe why she had take off for a little bit? Or is that he just was acting as though, I have no idea what's going on? Do you?
Yeah, that's he acted like he was
yeah.
surprised that she wasn't home.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I drew a blank. But yeah, he actually surprised, like he didn't know. And I went there at Sunday, and he was showing me, her keys are in the vehicle, her wallet's in the vehicle. She never made it home. And I'm like, what do you mean she didn't make it home? How did the kids come home? Her vehicle's there. And he was just, no, this is the shirt she went out with. He was showing me the shirt, and I was like,
so the shirt is at the house still, even though she had put the kids to bed, tucked them in, and just had gone outside quickly. So at some point she must have been in their room, I'm assuming, if her shirt was found there. Yeah. Is that where it was found?
There's no proof. According to Francisco, this is his words. He said he woke up the oldest boy at 7:30 or whatever in the morning, and asked him where his mom was at. And according to Francisco, the boy told him that mom went back outside. But there's no concrete evidence of her going back outside.
Right.
And so that's just according to Francisco. Yeah. So it's like the boy hadn't told anybody else that that's what happened. Okay.
And actually, what I was going to say before, I'm sorry if I'm backtracking.
Okay.
About the police and about what they're saying and what like she asked me, that it was normal for Veronica to take off for days. And the way I see it, I believe the Hillsborough County Police Department is pretty much covering their tracks.
Right.
Because
Okay.
from the get go, when Francisco reported her missing, they told us that really they don't have to take the case because she's an adult. And
That's.
mothers take off all the time because they get tired of family life, and they take
And
off.
leave their purse,
No,
wallet, and
just
cash
absolutely
in
They
not.
their
were
in
like,
their keys in their vehicle.
They were like, she's an adult, she can do what
That's
she wants to do.
completely absurd. There's no way they should have said that at all. Yeah. So you feel then they're covering for that by being like, oh well, here's the other reasons why we wouldn't look into this
They
immediately.
they
But there's
they
no
dropped the
excuse.
ball from day one, you know.
Hmm.
And like I told you, the only reason I know her whereabouts, what she did that night, is because she got a Samsung phone. Samsung's Google. It's not Apple. It's Google. And she also had a Chromebook logged into the same account. So we were able to hack her Chromebook because we didn't find her phone. We never located her phone.
Hmm.
So we were able to hack her Chromebook, and I found all the whereabouts everywhere she went that night.
Oh.
And
Okay.
that's how I know she went to Chili's, and then she went to another place to pick up. One of her friends wanted pot, marijuana, so they went to the dealer's house, picked that up, and from there
Okay.
they went to Tampa.
Okay. So
Okay.
I had read in an interview you had done with Dateline that her phone had continued to ping over the weekend. And I see you have access to that data. But by Monday, it appeared to have been shut off as no calls or messages went through. Do you have a sense of where her phone pinged the rest of the weekend? And during that time, I'm assuming she hadn't, but had she tried to reach out to anybody, you or her husband or anyone from her phone?
For that weekend, no. We had we had no contact with her whatsoever. She had no contact with us. Um,
Hmm.
According to her Chromebook, it showed that her phone was in that area. Because uh, with a phone ping from the antenna, it's not gonna show you exact location. Exactly where it's at. It's gonna
Right.
show you a radius of where the phone could be, and it showed that it was in that area that whole weekend. And on Monday, it showed the phone had moved from that area. Which on Mondays when he went to his mother-in-law, my ex-wife's house, to report her missing.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
For me, I was kind of blindsided from the whole situation, and I was somewhat in denial. Yeah, she probably went off with a friend. She probably, so I carried on. I went to work, and so I wasn't involved for when they reported her missing. And it's kind of weird that he didn't want to report her missing at his house.
Yeah.
He wanted to go all the way to his mother-in-law's house, which is
Hmm.
the other side going towards Tampa. And
Yeah.
that's what I said. And then around that times when the phone moved.
Interesting.
So as you've mentioned, Veronica was having dinner with friends on the 17th before she had gone missing. You mentioned that those friends had said that she was getting phone calls from Francisco and was like arguing on the phone, etc. Were there any other notes from those friends, anything else that they mentioned to you about just sort of her state of mind, or if she reacted in a way that she was like feeling overwhelmed or maybe wanting to take some time alone with what was going on? Or was there any sort of indication that was in her head while she was out for dinner with them?
No, I asked both of the friends that same question. I'm like, how
Mm-hmm.
was she acting? How was she? Did she feel stressed? Did she look like she was anxious about something, or they're like, no, she was happy. She went out with us. She was happy to be with us, and it's just there was nothing that popped out.
Okay.
Okay.
One more thing that came to mind there. Do you know, or did the friends mention whether that would have been a regular occurrence, that if she did go out, that he would be calling and upset about it?
Well,
had that happened before?
Well, my younger sister told me, because, like I said, after she had the boys, her and her aunts, my sister, they actually got kind of close. They both had kids, and kids around the same age, so they would get together regularly. Have the kids together, rent a water slide, bounce house, or whatever you want to call it, and have a cookout. It's just two moms hanging out, family, but two moms. And actually, that Monday, they had a plan to do the same thing that following Monday. But as for your question, she had went to her aunt's house one night. They were going to play Mexican lottery. It's it's almost like bingo. It's like Mexican bingo.
Okay.
And that was the plan. Her sister Claudia invited her over, but Claudia had other excuse me, other friends that were there. And Claudia was telling me that as they were sitting there playing, he was just calling over and over and over, and he was just arguing with her, yelling at her. And Claudia, she was like, "What am I going to do? I'm here with my friends and stuff." And it's just, it's very rude and very just. And I can't recall the date she told me it happened, but it's happened before. Where he just gets super mad and yelling at her and stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this is very interesting to me because in all of the research I did on Veronica's case, I've never heard her husband mentioned as potentially being abusive and controlling. And in fact, the Hillsborough police even went as far in the podcast they released to inform the public about Veronica's case to say that her husband's not a suspect. And this feels very absurd to me because in the true crime community, we even have an expression that it's always the husband. And certainly that's not the case. Yes. But in a situation where he is.
But it's something you should always look into.
Yeah. And it feels to me like, I don't know if you know any more about this than we do, but have they looked into him at all? Why would they have discounted him as a suspect from the get-go?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's, after them, like I said, after she come missing, Saturday, on that Tuesday, the following Tuesday, I went up there. That's when we were going through her Chromebook and stuff like that. A detective showed up at the house, and I told him, I'm like, this is what we found in her Chromebook. I'm not an investigator. I'm not, to go through this and know exactly what I'm looking for. Y'all are professionals. Y'all, I said, here's her Chromebook. See what y'all can find. And I told him, I'm like, I know it's the neighbors have cameras. See if y'all can get all the footage y'all can out of them cameras.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they told me? They're like, we don't need it. We don't need none of that.
What? They didn't take her computer even with her locations?
They didn't take nothing. And when I spoke with the detective though that was on the case, and I met him by accident. When I spoke with him, I told him, I'm like, why is it nobody took the information that I found? The Chromebook that I hacked and unlocked, and here's where her whereabouts, there's where she went. He's like, well, that guy that went out there, he was just out there to get information from you guys. That was all. Well, he was just pretty much a paper pusher. So that proves to you.
For what, just to check a box that they checked it out at the end?
No.
So has anyone from the Hillsborough police ever taken her computer from you? Are they looking into this?
Well, months later, 6 months later, I would believe it was 6 7 months later. That's when they contacted me and they asked me for the computer. They asked me for she was actually an Apple user, iPhone. But I
Okay.
kept telling them they were garbage because they would constantly break and screen. They're real fragile. I was always fixing the screen for her. So that's when she decided to go to Samsung. But her iPhone, like I said, she had broke the screen, and so I don't know if there was somebody else she was talking to, or I don't know how far back we can go on her activities. So I got her iPhone. I brought it to my house. I bought a new screen for it. I repaired it, and I tried to return give all that to the police. Which, like I said, they contacted me 6 months. 6 months later, I gave them the phone. I gave them the laptop, and they went and got camera footage from the neighbor's house. And that's when we realized Francisco was very active that night. Because they also did they got a warrant for his iPhone, which iPhone, like an Android phone, shows your activity.
Yeah.
Your steps every time you walk. And there was red flag after red flag after red flag. He had told the police that he was sleeping that night. He didn't wake up till 7:30 in the morning. And he told them that he went to sleep about 10 o'clock. 10 or 9 o'clock. But the last phone call that he made to Veronica was at 12:50. 12:50. She got home at 1:15.
Right. He's awake.
As an angry, upset partner, especially the phone calls that he was doing, he wasn't sleeping. And like I said, he carried his phone with him all the time, so it shows he's very, very active. Very active.
Yes. What else does it show? Like what he was active as in outside of the house, or was he where he said he was at all?
It don't show active on location where you went. It just shows that you had a lot of steps, happening. And he was active all morning. Early morning, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. He was very active. And the camera footage also shows about 3 something in the morning, 3:30. I can't recall the time. Veronica lived in a mobile home park. Which mobile homes, they're real close together. They're not very.
Yes.
They're real close together, so they put as many as they can on that piece of land. Well, the way her home is, her porch, you got a mobile home here. Her front door is here to the mobile home. You have another trailer here, and
so
the trailer behind it, camera footage goes this way towards Veronica's house, the front, and then you had another one in the back where the road comes in and loops around. But on this mobile home here, you could see light, like it would come from the front door, and the light it would like come and go, about 3 something in the morning. And what I had told the detective, I'm like, when you got somebody arguing, and somebody's fixing to walk out the door, and they're still arguing, they're sitting there with the door. Like they're they're fighting. No, you're not leaving. You leaving? I'm leaving, and they're fighting with the door. To me, that's what it seemed like.
And though Francisco said that he was asleep that whole time, like from 10 p.m. until 6 o'clock in the morning.
7 in the morning.
So he would.
Yeah.
Wow. And so the fact that has been proven wrong by this footage doesn't indicate to the police that they should look into him any further.
I was told that they didn't have enough to convict. Don't have enough evidence to convict. So they couldn't really do nothing. I mean, they could arrest for lying, suspicious, and and stuff like that. but without enough evidence to convict.
Yeah, and then they'd have to look into it a little further, I suppose.
But like I said, later on that
Ugh.
morning, about 4:30 in the morning, camera footage sees somebody walking outside in the porch around in the yard. There's no light there, so you really can't tell who it is. But they're walking in between the mobile homes, and then you see the light from the phone going forward. You know, you see the light. They're walking around, then they go back towards the porch. So he was very active that night. Yeah, you know, it shows according to his phone. And then Saturday, which he told the police he didn't go nowhere. He didn't do nothing. That's a lie. He was very active. And Saturday night, that same day she come up missing, according to him, we have no proof she was missing until Sunday when he called me. For all we know, she was probably home Saturday.
True.
That Saturday night at about 11:45, he paid a toll for a fishing pier about an hour and a half away from his house at nighttime.
Oh, wow.
You know,
And has that area ever been searched?
Well, you have a lot of current. It's where the golf is at.
Wow.
And like I said, he was asked if he did anything. They were like, he said he told the cops, no, I didn't do nothing. I didn't go nowhere. And then when they found footage that he paid the toll, they showed it to him. Well, isn't this your truck? Oh yeah, I forgot. I went fishing. I took the boys fishing. Now you tell me you're going to take a 1-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old at midnight to go fishing, an hour and a half away, and he was only there.
No.
He was only there for 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
I fish. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to travel an hour and a half to fish for 15, 20 minutes. You know, and when that police asked him, he was about it. He was like, "No, I didn't catch no fish, so I went home." You know, like I said, it was just red flag after red flag. You know, he lied.
Yes, these are things that you would think.
He lied numerous times. You know.
Yeah, you'd think that would prompt a little bit more, at least questioning from the police, or looking more at the what could be evidence here. You know, like. And I guess at this point, he could already see their pattern of, waiting 6 months to take something into as evidence, and had plenty of time to make excuses for or get rid of whatever.
I told them the same thing. I'm like, if I do something to somebody, and I got 6 months to clean up, you're not gonna find nothing. I guarantee.
Yeah, no problem.
You know, he had a long time.
Wild. So like kind of a big pivot here, but you've mentioned in the past that sex trafficking is a big issue in the area. And a previous guest of ours was actually trafficked from Florida, which does rank number 3 for the number of reported victims of trafficking in the U.S. So are you at all concerned that trafficking might play a role in Veronica's disappearance?
Well, like I said, I mean, before we got the evidence, we got, the red flags we got on Francisco.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought. I mean, I don't know if you've seen a couple of my interviews I did with the news stations around. I brought it up,
Mm-hmm.
I brought it up because I remember seeing a week or two prior about, sex trafficking and stuff like that. That could be we're number 3, and it was all over the news. And if you remember, that same year, we had the Super Bowl in Miami. Of 2020, there was a Super Bowl in Miami.
Yeah.
And every time you have big events like that, I guarantee you there's a lot of women that, they sex traffic into that area.
Yes, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, that went through my head numerous times. She probably got snatched up because, like I said, the way I looked at it, Francisco and Veronica's relationship was great. You know,
Mhm.
he took
Right.
in two boys that
Right.
weren't his, and he took care of them, took care of Veronica, and it was even plans for adoption for the two boys. He was going to adopt them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I remember Veronica had sent me a
So,
message, and even a screenshot, not a screenshot, but a picture of the document saying, we're going Monday. The next
mm-hmm.
following Monday, they were going to court to finalize it. No,
And it hadn't been done
I'm
yet.
sorry, it wasn't on
Yeah.
Monday. It was on Thursday. That following Thursday.
Okay.
I mean, the Thursday to come or whatever. She was like, Dad, you want to go with us? We'll go have dinner afterwards to celebrate. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, I'll take that day off work and we'll go do that. I have no problem.
Right.
And
And that to me shows somebody who's not looking to take off. They're excited about this big event. They want to
No.
celebrate you. That's not somebody who just wants to take off and leave her family.
like I
Yeah.
said, that's what I showed the cops. When they first told me that,
Mhm.
she's the dog, she could take off. She probably got shots out of her life. And I took out my phone and I showed them. I'm like, here's the pictures with her boys. Here's the stuff she says to me about school. Who knows a child more than the parent? And I know Veronica. Me and Veronica were close. Don't sit there and tell me that BS.
Yeah.
And
Where are the boys staying now, by the way?
well,
Sorry.
after Veronica come up missing, that conversation came up. Do you still want me to adopt them?
Mhm.
And like I said, this is before I knew everything that happened. Which I told him because the youngest one's his. I told him, I'm like, as long as you stay here, Plant City area, I would agree with you adopting them because I didn't want to
Mhm.
separate the boys,
Right.
the baby
Right.
from the two oldest ones, and I wanted to
Mhm.
keep the family together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
things, red flag after red flag popped up, and I kind of regretted my decision of him adopting them, which it did go through. He did
Mhm.
adopt them. And
Wow.
because I went to court, the judge asked me, and I told him I agree with it, and so he got them. And we had a couple incidents that happened after he adopted them, where there was rumors he was going to take them to Mexico, uproot them, and take them.
No.
And like I said, we weren't very happy about it. So we told him, it's like, and I kept telling him, if they're too much for you, I will take them. You ain't got to worry about it.
Yeah.
Now you're by yourself. You can go live your life. Leave me my grandkids. Leave me the kids. I mean, I didn't question him about leaving. To Mexico because there was information that I didn't want to start, and he tells me you no longer seeing the boys. So I didn't want that. Because he had every rights. In Florida as a grandparent, you have no rights.
Right.
So I didn't want that. I didn't want that wedge between him and I. And he finally asked my daughter if she would mind watching the boys. Keeping the boys over the summer. That way he can do whatever he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Which my daughter had kept them. And he even signed paperwork for her. That way she could take them to the doctor. I forgot what you call that. But it's not parental rights. It's just some kind of document where she could take them to the doctor.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Then at one point he had called my daughter and told her, "Hey, I want my son. Can I get him for the weekend? Not all three. He only wanted his son. Have a birthday party. Can I get him?" Which she said, "Okay, take him." And he came back that weekend. All 5 fingers burnt. The tip of his fingers were all burnt. Year and a half. He was a year and a half old. and he had bite marks all over his stomach,
Oh my gosh.
front area. And my daughter called me, just very aggravated and mad, and I'm like, call the police.
Yeah.
Call the
Right.
police. And first thing I thought of is he was trying to burn his fingerprints off.
That's what I was wondering what the severity of the burns might be, if it looked like he had touched something hot or if it seemed deliberate.
I mean, if you burn this whole area here, which means he probably grabbed something, a hot pan or something.
Yeah.
But just the fingerprints, the tip of your fingers, all of them.
Weird.
Oh, that's very weird.
Yeah. And so we called the police. Police called these, DCF, Department of Children and Families. They came out, they investigated, and so they went and questioned Francisco and his girlfriend that he got with 2 months after Veronica came up missing. Yeah. And then within within 6 months, 7 months, when the detective went to talk to them, found out she was pregnant.
Oh.
6 months after Veronica came up missing, she was pregnant.
Wow.
And with his fingerprints being burnt, they told my daughter that she was going to keep them until they closed the case. Well, they went to question him and his new girlfriend, and they were saying, "Oh, a cat probably bit them because they had a cat." You can't compare cat teeth marks to human marks.
No, not even close.
They were human marks. Well, when they looked into it, they said that was an adult. Just the way the teeth marks were, it was an adult.
Yeah.
And then, according to his fingers, Francisco told him, he grabbed a pan and he burned his fingers. So, and
so, like, did they continue? Did they look into it further? Like, I mean, if he's been bitten then by a human adult,
nope.
And then
clearly
they concluded that they just
child endangerment at the very least.
Yeah, because within 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, they closed the case, and they told him he can come pick up the kids.
Wow.
Which he only came and picked up the baby.
Oh.
So now he and his girlfriend live with the baby at this point?
Or they were living with the baby. Well, we started an adoption process to take the boys. And when we did that, the girlfriend disappeared along with the baby.
What?
Oh, no.
He shipped the baby to Mexico. He signed the same paperwork he signed for my daughter. He signed for the baby, for his girlfriend, where she could take him across the border.
Oh.
So she took him across the border to Veracruz, and so we have nothing on him.
So she's gone, and the baby is gone now at this point.
Yes, and
well, I mean, if that is not suspicious,
and the adoption process on the other two boys, we won. My daughter has the boys.
Great.
So we took them away from him, and my big thing was, that's all I have left.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I'm sorry. They handle that in a way that just makes no logical sense whatsoever. It's like, I mean, we often hear about different departments not talking to each other when, if they did, it would be clear. It's like when you're getting different calls and different crises from the same family. That's something worth looking a little closer.
DCF right now here in Florida, they're a joke. I believe a year prior from us adopting them, they actually put a child back into a home he wasn't supposed to be, and that child ended up dying. Because they're just DCF. they're no good. They're
Right.
Yeah.
garbage. I put them right up there with the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
I mean, when Veronica come up missing, her case went straight to homicide. Because they don't have a missing department and stuff like that, so they went straight to homicide.
Right.
Right.
That's the other thing. So with departments not necessarily speaking to each other, and then you've got an area that is a big hotspot for trafficking, and then you've got people coming up missing, you've got murders, you've got child abuse, and then there's no department that's handling the missing people, as you just touched on, but also we've heard from a previous guest in the area, and so, I mean, that's a lot of things that are just falling by the wayside.
She's very upset, too. I know who you're talking about. She's very upset.
Yeah.
The way they handled her sister's case, pretty much no different than the way they handled Veronica's case.
Exactly,
I believe the way it goes. If you ain't about somebody important, or you ain't about this money, you get thrown to the bottom of the list. That same year my daughter come up missing, there was a young female to come up missing. I can't remember what state it was, somewhere up north. Madison, I can't remember her last name. Madison Bell.
Okay.
She come up missing, 19-year-old, pretty blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. And within that same month, they had the state police, they had the community police, county police, they had the FBI involved. I mean, they had everybody involved to find this girl within a month. And come to find out, she had just took off with some guy she met or something, because her new boyfriend was with her mom, or I don't know what happened, but she just took off.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what gets me is my daughter just fell through the cracks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a money thing, and it's just.
It's so tough to see. And in those situations, it's like we want that treatment for everyone. It's not to disparage the investigation of somebody that was found. Like, that's great, but can we do that for everyone? Like, can we bring in the FBI?
Can we get a better handle on just what we assume is the situation each time? Because they're telling you, maybe Veronica just took off, so we're not going to look into it. And then this other woman who did, in fact, just take off, but they looked into it. It makes you wonder how they judge them as, oh, maybe she just took off, whereas maybe she didn't, like why... If you dismiss one as them taking off and then look into the other, there's no rule that they're going by here. It seems like it's just random.
So like this other young lady that come up missing in Idaho, Arizona. I can't remember her name, but it was a big case. It was all over the U.S. big media.
The Gabby Petito, right?
Yeah.
Gabby Petito.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad she got justice. They found her.
For sure.
They found him and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not taking that from them.
Every person deserves that.
No matter.
Veronica deserves that too.
No matter your race, no matter if you're a drug addict, a drunk. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Every life matters.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Every person is entitled to that justice. Yeah. They should be.
And that's why I see it. I don't care who you are. There's a lot of stuff I do for the missing. I mean, I advocate for the missing myself, because I know the struggle.
Well, Fidencio, can you tell us where Veronica's case stands now? Have the police been in touch with you at all? Do you have a sense if they're investigating still at this point?
Well, within that same year that she disappeared, I remember this like it was yesterday. The same year she disappeared, on September, I got a call from the detective. And he's like, can you come up to the office, so we can have a meeting with you on the case?
Mm-hmm.
which me and my ex-wife went. And he showed us everything they had. That's why I know about the cameras, the footage, and stuff like that. But I wasn't allowed to take nothing. No paperwork, no nothing. They told me all that stays with us is ongoing case. But at first I kept it quiet. I didn't want to talk about it because I thought they were going to investigate more. But you know what? At this point, I don't care if it's all out there. I really don't care. But after that meeting was over, he bluntly told me, "We're not doing no more. That's it. We found everything. We found everything we could find. There's no more evidence. You will no longer hear from us unless the community or we find her body. That's the only way you hear from us."
Wow.
And so the way I look at it on a personal level is, if you're not going to continue with the case, close it. And only reason I want them to close it, because once you close a case, it becomes public records. Anybody,
Right.
Yeah.
any private investigator could get in there and get all the information they found and continue, working on the
Smart.
case. But if it's an ongoing case, nobody gets no information.
Right.
Right.
And that's one reason I wanted them to close it that way. Because I've had a couple of FBI, not FBI's, but a couple of private investigators contact me who's willing to do it pro bono. I guess to get their name out there or whatever, which I don't care what their focus is, but but they can't get no information.
We've gone over a lot of details of what happened as Veronica disappeared, what happened that night, things that but regardless of whatever the situation is, and it's not being investigated now, it can always be helpful to get any tips or information from anyone else in the public, anyone that might know anything at all. Do you have any details that you can share that might help if anyone knows stuff about Veronica, about the situation, that maybe hasn't talked to you, hasn't come forward, hasn't gotten involved because they didn't realize there's a need for that? Any other info you can give us that might be helpful for those folks?
Well, I got, no, like I said, I don't live in the bad neighborhood. Plant City, Dover area. It's not a very bad neighborhood. It's not, as they will say, the ghetto or whatever. But I've had someone contact me, and, old saying goes, to the streets talk.
Right.
They're not going to talk to police. Nobody likes the police. Nobody trusts the police. And at this point, I'm pretty much, F the police. Because like I said, they didn't support me. But I got this information, which I told the police about it, and they're like, he said, she said, there's nothing we can do on that. We want evidence. Somebody got drunk. It wasn't Francisco. It was, somebody on the streets got drunk. And when people get drunk, a lot of times the truth comes out. That they got drunk and they were saying that their cousin had something to do with it. Because he was like, no, they'll never find her, blah, blah, blah. My cousin did it. And, which we can't contact that cousin because he died. He died in a terrible accident. And, like I said, all that information I gave the police, and they did nothing. And like I told the police, I'm like, you can't track his phone records, whether he made that call to that certain somebody. Just go through all the numbers. And they're like, no, we don't go on he said, she said. We have to have some kind of evidence. I'm like, well, if you don't dig, you're not going to find it.
Well, you've been fighting for answers for Veronica, and in the process, you've helped start a group, The Missing Struggle, aimed at keeping the public informed about the struggles family members of the missing go through. Can you talk a little bit more about that group?
Well, The Missing Struggle, I don't know how she does it. Katrina, she's very strong individual. To be so involved and so, I mean, that myself personally, when I talk about Veronica, that hurts. But when Veronica come up missing, within that month, I found out about her sister Kaya Taylor. Which myself, I tried. I felt like if two families come together, where our voice is heard, it's louder, to the community.
Yes.
And so I reached out to her family, and everybody was like, "No, we're doing this on our own. We're doing it on our own."
Mm-hmm.
And which kind of, because I felt what they felt, so that's why I wanted to come together. And what's luckily I had I found Katrina, which I sent her a message, and I sent her my phone number. Well, she called me back, and she agreed with everything I was saying. And she was like, yeah, we were louder by numbers, and I was like, because when you're out there looking for your loved one, you don't know what you're gonna find.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I was gonna find Kaya, or anybody else was missing. So in reality, when you're out there looking, you're looking for a body. Somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because in reality, we did a couple searches ourselves, and in the back of my mind, I didn't want to find Veronica.
Yeah.
To see it. I mean, I believe it would have, if I did find her decomposed, and it would have hurt me.
No kidding, yeah.
So I I was hoping more of finding someone else while I was doing my search.
Oh.
Right.
And so I kind of got the ball rolling with Katrina, and Katrina kind of she took over. She made it what it is.
Mm.
And if you talk to her, which I'm pretty sure you have, she always says we made it to what it is.
Oh.
But
Well, I'm sure that having you there with such similar circumstances must feel like such a support system for her, whether you know it or not. And for those of you that didn't hear our episode from a couple weeks ago about Kaya Taylor, there's just a striking resemblance physically between Veronica and Kaya. They both went missing from about 15 minutes from each other from Plant City and Dover, which are right next to each other. And I had heard the cases compared, and I think some people think maybe there could be a trafficking connection. But after talking to both of you, I think the connection's likely more abusive partners and just bad circumstance, unfortunately.
Well, and the main connection, unfortunately, is how the cases are being handled.
Yes.
And it's because, it's the same area and to people of color. But, we're looking at some mysteries that are just not being explored, which it shines a light on an issue in the area altogether. Because if we can talk to both of you in this short time, I'm sure there's so many more of you, and I'm sure you've met a lot more with the missing struggle as well.
Like I said, we met this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we met with another missing one that was here in about 10 minutes also from where Veronica come up missing. Kelly Vasquez. Just the name alone, but she's dirty blonde hair, just an American white, American white girl. Uh,
Mm,
but her name's just different. You know, if you go Vasquez. But she come up missing
mhm.
too. But same year, Veronica come up missing. And same thing. You know, she kind of got thrown to the side, and
Mhm,
it was just dirty. You know, the way the cops handled it, the Hillsborough County
mhm,
Department. It was just,
mhm.
which I know she had substance abuse. She had problems, and I believe cases like that, she get thrown to the side.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
She's
unfortunately.
probably drugged up. She probably
And
took off with somebody or whatever. You know.
yeah, yeah. And everyone deserves the attention regardless of what the situation is, because that could be anyone out there,
Mhm.
anyone's family member, anyone's loved one, but
Or the,
it's
or the sad thing is, that's where our tax dollars go. Just
Yeah,
for them to serve us, to serve
yeah,
the
absolutely.
community, you know. And
yeah.
when our
And
time of
if that
need,
part of the police, sorry.
at our time of need, when we need you, we expect you to step up, And a lot of times with the missing, the police don't find them missing. A lot of times it's the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does take the community for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was the police, like, it's like they have tools to do this. And you hear so
Mhm.
many times and talking about the fact that Veronica's cell phone, has like data about her whereabouts. Also, her husband's phone would have had data about whereabouts. And then you hear all the time about, like cell phone records being used to solve other things. So it's like, can you really find more data with an iPhone? I'm not sure that like you can't. Like I'm just not sure that's true. And I
Yeah.
feel like there are more like things for them to try that they're just not potentially doing.
Yes. Yeah. And it sounds to me like perhaps the situation is that, we know they don't have a missing department that's tackling these cases. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they don't have the capacity to be doing the work on each of these cases. And if that's the case, rather than making excuses or being like, well, we've done enough, or, this isn't a problem, this isn't something we need to look into, or, otherwise excusing themselves, maybe highlight that and say, we need help from the community. We need, fundraisers. We need to draw attention to this, rather than just being like, no, we've done it.
Well, and the Hillsborough
Like,
police, we know from talking to Katrina, won't talk to the media. Instead, they made these little podcast snippets about some of the cases in the area. And I listened to Veronica's, and they're basically spinning this picture of not asking the public for help, but saying, she probably just disappeared. Like literally listening to
Mm-hmm.
the podcast, that's what they say. They don't implicate that there
yeah.
could have been any issues at home. There's no implication about trafficking even. They basically are like, well, she had a tendency to take off, is what they say in that
Mhm.
podcast. It's
Well, but the
and
thing
it
is, too,
so wrong.
I think what played a
Mhm.
big role in it too. I mean, I'm not giving the cops, sheriffs, no excuses.
Right.
But if you recall, back in 2020, that's when COVID kicked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Lots of stuff
I
going on.
believe that also had a big impact on Veronica's missing.
Yeah.
Uh, the lack of work they did. But if right here in Platte City, we have the Strawberry Festival.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Draws a lot of outcomers, from out of states come in here. A lot of money comes in here. And that's towards the end of February and March, towards the beginning of March. Well, Veronica come up missing in January, and they didn't take the case serious till, you know, uh,
After
when
that.
I talked to the sheriff, the detective, he told me right now we don't have the people because we're working the fair. Which, like I
Wow.
said, that's money coming into the community, so all cases get thrown to the side so they can get money into the community. So I took it upon myself to put posters up, flyers. Um, at that time, it's about the same time Kaya come up missing. So I have flyers for Veronica and Kaya I was passing out.
Right.
And because they never showed uh, flyers. They never reached out to, to the
Wow.
community. So we pretty much did it ourselves.
I mean, they could do the
Wow.
bare minimum of talking to the media
Yeah.
or at the end of their podcast having a call to action. Like if you have seen Veronica
Yeah.
or if you know what happened, please contact us. And
then even still, it's the community doing the work,
Yeah.
but they just have to be like, here, this is what we need. But instead of doing that, there's no connection whatsoever.
No.
So nobody can
I
write
also
on it.
believe the media has a lot to blame too. Because when Veronica come up missing, and after we did the report, and I tried to get hold of the media. I called like 5 different stations, and I told them, I'm like,
Right.
can you do my daughter's story? And she come up missing. This is what happened. They were like, no, we don't do that. Unless the sheriff's department contacts us, then we'll do it. And I believe that it's all about ratings. It's all about money, ratings.
Yeah.
But luckily, my sister knows somebody. My sister, she's a teacher for school, and she knows one of her coworkers. Her husband or her wife, I don't know what it was, works at one of the news stations. So she pulled some strings. It's, like I said, it's all in who you know.
Right.
And what where you're ranked in life. But she pulled some strings, and they contacted me. They're like, well, we'll do the story if you go get the police report. So I got a report and stuff like that, and I did the story. And go and behold, as soon as I did the story, all the vultures came. All the media, they contacted me. Hey, we want to do your daughter's story. And I'm like, well, didn't I just call you a couple of days ago? You told me pretty much to F off.
Right.
But, I had four stations in my story. One in Spanish, no, 2 in Spanish. The rest of them were in English. And we try to keep it out there in the media. We did a vigil for Veronica, which one of the station medias went out there, did the story. And after that, they all went MIA. And I contacted them, and I'm like, can you redo her story? Kind of keep it fresh in people's heads and stuff like that. They were like, well, what happened? Did you find her? Did you? I'm like, no. I just want to redo the story. And that's all about ratings, They want a big story. Which, I even brought it to their attention. Can y'all make like a 30-minute show for the missing in Hillsborough County? And just talk about this, talk about that person, this person, or whatever. It's just kind of
great idea.
Keep it going. But no. So that's why another reason we do the missing struggle. Just keep it out there. Keep it out there. Keep it on Facebook. Keep it. Keep it in people's heads. Just pound it in there. Which I'm not going to lie is before Veronica come up missing, I would see people missing. I won't share it. I'm not going to lie to you. I won't share it unless it was a child. They got kidnapped or whatever. Then I would share it. But adults, I didn't share it. And it takes something like this to happen and see how bad it is. Because my wife even told me, she's like, I didn't know there were so many people missing in Hillsborough County until Veronica came up missing. Until you get slapped in the face, then you see reality. We all live in this little bubble. I think life's perfect, but it's not.
So what can our listeners do to help Veronica or to help at all in her case?
Well, the biggest thing is to share. You see the flyer, you see the podcast, share it. Sharing don't take but a second. 1 second. And that 1 second that you shared it, there could be a pair of eyes out there that see it, and they know what happened. You know, I remember seeing her here. You know, I mean, it takes 1 second to share. You know, they don't cost you nothing. It's free. You know, just share it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here again. And thanks for everything you're doing for the missing struggle and for Veronica's case. It's very, very inspirational. And I guess that's enough true crime for 1 week. If you just can't get enough MMN, you can find us on all the socials.
You can find us on Instagram at MMN True Crime, on Twitter at M Murder News, on TikTok at MMN True Crime, and on Facebook you can find our page just by searching for Murdered and Missing News.
And while you're there, you can also join our Facebook group, which will also pop up when you search for Murdered and Missing News.
If you like what you've been hearing each week on our podcast / YouTube, let us know by leaving us a comment, like, subscribe, and maybe go the extra mile and leave our show a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We super appreciate the feedback.
Have a great week. See you next Friday.
Bye, spooky friends.